Welcome to the Ultraflex Football podcast, where we have fun with our friends while we talk about football and anything else we want to talk about. I'm your host, Anthony Sutton. With me is Rob Green.
What's up?
And Ryan Wheeler.
Aloha. Tony, you're getting confident, man.
Trying to. That's the kind of fire we need right there every time. That is what we need every time. And I'm pumped up because I get to start this episode with my segment. A lot of the times I'm trying to figure out if I just want to go with a straight, easy one-liner, or if I want to make up like some BS story and try to work it in. Luckily for me, today, it kind of just worked itself out. So I live in Raleigh. I work as an account manager, sales with people that are buying commercial vehicles. So a lot of HVAC engineering, things like that. One of my clients is a garage door company. So I was meeting with them today. We're lucky to live in North Carolina because a lot of people are moving here. And I asked him, I'm like, how's the garage door company? I figured it was going to be doing well because of all the new houses they're building. You know what he told me?
It has its ups and downs.
Yes. And it's so good. That is the best joke ever.
It'll grow on you.
One of my other clients is a general contractor. This didn't happen today. This was a couple days ago. You know, he told me, he said, if you think the price of gas is a lot, you should try putting in a fireplace. Those are through the roof. Oh, man.
Oh, that's bad.
There's just no way to transition out of that. So I'm just going to go on to our rank 3, which is today we are ranking vegetables. A healthy podcast here. Unfortunately, we've all grown up and started eating more vegetables probably. For me, number 3 is corn. Corn on the cob is always a good. It's almost like a snack for me at this point. Like corn on the cob is amazing. Get some too much butter on there, too much salt. Not really healthy, but just general corn. Corn mixed with mashed potatoes is a bonus. So for me, corn.
It's like no longer a vegetable anymore by the time you eat it.
Pretty much.
It's the only way to make mashed potatoes good. You got to add something to them.
I resent that, but all right.
Might be a hot take, but I'm not a fan of mashed potatoes.
That's pretty hot, man. I feel like that's spicy.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, you want me to go next? Oh,
yeah,
wow,
go second today.
Third. Holy moly,
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. All
Damn
right,
straight, you're up.
Damn straight. All right, so my number 3 is if I'm going to have vegetables, they have to be, specific ones. These ones have to be baked. Otherwise, if you steam them or I don't even know how, like grill them, I don't really care for them, but baked green beans are delicious, in my opinion. Put some salt and pepper on them and like coat them in oil and then throw them in the oven and bake them for 15 minutes at 400 degrees. I even got like the temperature.
I don't think I've ever tried it.
I don't think I've ever had them like that. Yeah.
Gotta try it. And they come out
That's the way to do it. Huh?
Perfect. Yeah.
You ever order them at a restaurant? Or you make them home?
I don't think I've ever really ordered them at a restaurant.
I was just curious, like, if the waiter would look at you weird. If you were like, do you have any...
baked green beans?
Baked green beans?
No, I think they just steam them at restaurants.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, that's gross. It loses all the nutritional value.
Unless they don't specify, they're probably just steamed.
Yeah, when you steam vegetables, they lose their value or their nutritional value. Got to bake them. Or eat them raw. Ugh.
Yeah. Not sure about that. All right. I went with carrots for my number 3. Simple one, tastes good. You can dip them in really whatever you want. Carrots.
That was honorable mention for me. 2 for me is grilled zucchini. It's preferably like at a hibachi place or something like that. But even like if you're going to grill it at the house, I don't know, something about having it come off the grill makes it very, very yummy.
I didn't even think about that one when I was going through this list, but it's a good choice.
Not my cup of tea personally, but I could see it. My number 2 is once again baked broccoli. Baked broccoli is very good. Very, very good.
I'm a big fan of broccoli.
Once again, got to
You
put
like
the
broccoli raw?
I used to eat broccoli raw like
I like it
every
that way.
single day. But yeah, if you coat it in oil, put some salt and pepper on it again, man.
You guys got very specific with how you wanted your vegetables. I just picked some vegetables.
Rob's like carrots.
I like carrots. My number 2, I'm going with onions because I like onions on
that's
everything,
a good one.
in things, on pizza, in soup, like whatever. Onions.
I
Love
totally
it.
forgot about
I
onions.
don't think I would ever eat an onion raw. I don't think so.
Like an
I
apple?
might try it. Yeah, I don't know. You ever do that?
No.
That-
Do I look like a psychopath to you? The question is that.
Do you think you could take a bite and swallow it, like a full bite, without spitting it out?
I do. I really like onions, so I think I could, but
I think I could do it too.
My breath would rank for a long time.
Nope.
Anthony's
you.
like, no chance.
Number 1 for me is preferably grilled again, but asparagus. The only bad thing is obviously the aftermath of how your pee smells. But other than that, the initial consuming of asparagus, especially done right, like if you go to like some of those like fancy steak house, the asparagus is almost better than the steak half the time.
Yeah, that's asparagus is pretty good, but man, does your pee stink when you're done with it. It's nasty.
Yes, it does. And it's got to be cooked right too, I'd say, because if it's not cooked right, it's not good.
You like it crunchy or soft? And there's only one right answer.
Crunchy.
Soft.
Oh, guess there's not.
I'll eat it either way, but I like it when it's almost like both. I almost want to say, because if it's too soft, then it gets mushy. But if it's too hard, then it doesn't taste good.
Right.
It's got to be firm. So I didn't even give you guys the proper. It's got to be firm, but like I don't want it like still like crunchy as if it's like not cooked.
That is the right term, because I want to be able to like kind of bite into it and feel it.
Yeah,
but I don't want it to be like I'm chewing on a carrot consistency.
100%.
So
100%, right there with you. I'm up next. This threw me off, man. I always go third. My number 1 is sweet potatoes. Once again, gotta bake them, but sweet potatoes are just so legit, man.
That's my number 1 too.
Is it? Let's go, baby.
Sweet potato fries, or baked in the oven. Just cut it in half. Throw some little bit of honey on it. It's delicious.
Yep.
Cinnamon. You can do brown sugar.
Yep.
Just salt and pepper. You can do it anyway.
Do you bake all of these, Ryan, or does Rebecca help bake them?
Sir, I am the chef in the house. I take pride in my cooking.
Does it matter to her if it's baked or grilled or?
It matters to her. Yeah, she
likes baked.
She likes them. She likes them baked. I mean, she likes like broccoli and like that's just weird, man. Like broccoli, that stuff steamed. Also, I don't even want it at all if it's steamed.
I agree with that. All right, those are our ranks. He said
sweet potato. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Number 1.
I was sitting waiting.
It's the obvious answer.
All right, let's go. I forgot.
Those are our rank 3 for this week. We're gonna jump over to again Ultraflex Football. So we're gonna talk football, and we are at the midway point. Sort of. It's hard to have a midway point when there's an odd number of weeks, or odd number of games, I should say. So we're going to do our mid-season awards. We did this after 4 games were played, so we'll see how different it is now. Ryan, do you want to go first?
We just do an MVP first and then going through.
Mhm.
MVP, I'm going Jalen Hurts. He's leading a team undefeated season so far. Look ahead at their schedule. Doesn't look like there's many chances for them to lose a game. And if they do go undefeated, or let's say 15-2, 16-1, something like that, I don't think there's any way if he keeps up as good as he's been that he doesn't get the MVP.
Yeah, I wanted to find a spot for him on mine, but
are you concerned at all if he doesn't finish undefeated or 16-1 that he won't get the MVP?
The problem is that they're up ahead in like every game, so he doesn't have the passing volume as guys like Mahomes. So can you penalize him for that?
That's exactly what my point was going to be. I think he needs to go undefeated or maybe one loss to get the MVP because he's not going to have the stats to compare to Mahomes or Allen if he's healthy.
And if he's 16-1 and 17-0, which they're only halfway there, but their schedule isn't super hard, so it's not out of the question. He probably sits. Well, maybe not if they're undefeated. They probably go for the undefeated season. But if they lose one game, he probably sits the last game or two, which would also affect that.
That's also true. Yeah.
But
the Cowboys are playing well. They could stay close to the Eagles all season, especially if they drop one to the Cowboys.
But that's also projecting. Like this right now, this is for the last 9 weeks. So I mean, we can talk about that at the end of the year. So I mean, I'm not saying that your answer is wrong because how do you question the quarterback of an undefeated team? So
I don't know. I can't.
Yeah. Especially because he had a big part in it. So
yeah, they do play the Titans in a couple weeks, so they are probably going to lose one game. But
we shall see. Rob, you can go.
All right, I went with Patrick Mahomes for my MVP up to this point, leading the league in passing yards and touchdowns up to this point, and the Chiefs are 6-2. And he lost Tyreek Hill, who is on pace for a record-setting season from wide receiver. So he's been able to do it without his best weapon from last year, arguably. I know he still has Kelsey, but losing Tyreek is obviously a big loss, or should have been, and it really hasn't affected his stats or the record to this point. So Mahomes is the guy for me.
I also have Mahomes for a similar reason. I'll just add a couple things. To me, it's Mahomes 1, Hurts 1B, and Allen now 1C because of the last 6 quarters for Allen haven't been great. So I was really going back and forth between Mahomes and Hurts, and Mahomes has roughly 600 more passing yards and 9 more passing touchdowns. Hurts does have a couple more rushing touchdowns. So kind of the same thing. It's just better stats, but like we just talked about, there's reason behind that. So we'll see what happens the second half of the year. It'll be fun. Ryan, who's your offensive player?
I think you're crazy if it's not Tyreek Hill at this point. On pace for 2,100 yards this season. He's just been an absolute animal. He's on track to beat the receiving record. So I'm gonna have to go with Tyreek.
Yep, he was my offensive player as well. Same exact reasons. He's just week after week putting up top of the league receiving yardage. I know he doesn't have a ton of touchdowns, but it doesn't matter.
Don't matter, man.
Yeah, Miami's winning, and he's on pace to break the NFL receiving record. So
he's insane right now.
I have Hurts here. I agree. Like the offensive player, really, the MVP should be named the best quarterback.
Yes.
And the offensive player should be named the best non-quarterback. Yes. So I agree that like Hill is definitely more likely to win this award, but I had to put Hurts somewhere on my ballot here because of the fact that they're undefeated, and he's a very big reason for that. So I agree Hill's probably the more likely winner if the season ended today, but I had to put Hurts there because of the great year he had.
Understandable. Defensive player of the year. That's what we're on next.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Matt Judon. He's first in sacks right now. He's second in QB hits, fourth in tackles for loss. Dude's playing out of his mind. I think if he keeps this pace up, then he's definitely going to be on track for a Defensive Player of the Year award.
Do you think someone gets? He already has like 11 and a half. You think? What's the record right now? 22, 23?
Yeah, it's like 22
Set by Watt, right?
and a half or 23. Yeah, did he tie it or did he break it?
I thought he broke it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think he broke it.
He did break it.
With the extra game and like the increase in passing, like it's not going to be long before people start getting 25, 26, like 30.
We might be approaching 30 here in a few years.
Yeah, which is crazy. But Rob, who do you have?
I went with the current odds-on favorite to win, Micah Parsons for the Cowboys. He's third in the league in sacks right now, and just when you watch a Cowboys game, it's tough not to notice him out there. I mean, he's the best player out there pretty much every game.
And the Cowboys lead the league in sacks as a team, and they played one less game than half the league or whatever that number is. I don't know how many teams got to buy. Yeah. So obviously that defense is performing.
Yep.
So 22 and a half is the sack number. Him and Strahan share that record.
I thought he tied it and didn't break it.
Yeah. Now that I read that, I remember them saying that on the broadcast, like when he was trying to get his last sack.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
My Defensive Player of the Year, which we were texting before, caught Ryan's attention because it is Sauce Gardner. Again, it's probably one where I don't think a cornerback would win Defensive Player of the Year just because it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, what would actually have to happen for a corner to win? Set the interception record?
Gilmore won, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I guess I forgot about that.
He was locked down, though, dude. He was so good.
There had to be like really low sack numbers that year, something crazy for a cornerback to win it because it just doesn't feel like a Defensive Player of the Year position.
Your team has to be really good. And I don't think that the Jets, while much improved, I don't think they're going to be at that point where they give it to Sauce. But some of the stats that I saw that made me say this, and again, some of these are debatable on like who gets credit for a catch on man coverage because I don't know. It's if it's done by PFF. I don't know how they determine that, but
yeah.
So Sauce this year has covered Amari Cooper, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. So those are some of the guys he's covered in man-to-man coverage. Total against man-to-man coverage this year, he is allowed, again, this might be debatable, but this is what PFF has, 4 receptions for 28 yards. He's allowed 0 touchdowns, 2 first downs. He's forced 6 incompletions or pass breakups.
Yeah.
And he's allowing 0.26 yards per snap in man coverage. So if that's not the definition of shutdown corner.
You see the way they're letting him play though? He's already getting the Richard Sherman treatment out there. Like they're just letting him do whatever he wants. Big corner, using his hands, pushing like that.
Yeah, if I was a cornerback, that's all I would do because they're not going to just continue to call it.
Right. I'm guessing that's
how the Seahawks were so good.
Didn't Diggs beat him the first play of one of the first plays of the game against when the Bills and Jets played? I'm guessing that must not have been man coverage.
Yeah, they probably counted it as zone.
Yeah, so, like I said, so I don't know how some of that can probably be iffy, but a lot of people are talking about him being an all-pro cornerback, and those stats just jumped off the page at me. So that's why I have him as my Defensive Player of the Year.
They are good stats.
So I went back just because I was curious. I looked up the AP Defensive Player of the Year winners, and Gilmore did win it in 2019. Before that, can you guess who was the most recent corner to win it before Gilmore?
Darrelle Revis?
No, see, that's what I would have guessed. If somebody did it, it would have been him, but no. It was 2009. Green Bay Packers.
It ain't clicking, man.
How old's Charles Woodson?
Charles Woodson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It had to be towards the tail end of his career.
I was gonna say, dude, I feel like he was old in 2009.
And before that, I mean, Bob Sanders won it in 2007, but he's a safety. Deion Sanders, 94.
Bob
So it's-
Sanders.
That's been
And then
pretty
1975 was the only other time, Mel Blount for the Steelers.
yeah. So it's rare.
Very rare. Going back to 1971, it's only been done 4 times.
Yeah, I'll take my odds with Judon over Sauce.
And especially on top of that, not only has it like never happened or very rarely, what would have to happen for a rookie to do it? Like they're just
Yeah.
going to give him Rookie of the Year. They're not going to give him
Yes.
both. So
Oh, yeah,
you'd
yeah.
have to have
I
an
agree.
insane
Like that-
year.
I don't think he does win it, but that doesn't mean
He's been good for sure.
I don't think he doesn't deserve it, or at least
I think
be in
if
the
we-
conversation.
Did a defensive Rookie of the Year, it'd be him. So
Yeah.
Ryan, who's your offensive rookie of the year?
Offensive Rookie of the Year, Chris Olave. New Orleans Saints. He's got 72 targets, 43 receptions, 618 yards, and 2 touchdowns so far. With not a great quarterback. I mean, honestly, I guess none of these rookie wide receivers have great quarterbacks, so I guess I can't really say.
except Sky Moore.
He's not even on the field, though, and he fumbles every time he gets a chance.
Yeah.
So he's so disappointing, man. I drafted him in one of our fantasy leagues. I was in the first round. I was so excited, and I also have Kadarius Toney on that team though too. So I have a decent shot to have one of the wide receivers that breaks out in that offense.
The Packers are supposed to have a good quarterback.
Yeah, supposed to. Historically, yeah, I guess. I mean, Rodgers is one of the probably 5 greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, 4 greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. So,
Olave's been great for fantasy too. I just wanted to point out.
yeah, he's like
I
wide
have him on
receiver
a couple teams. He's
15.
wide receiver 15 right now. Yeah, and he's been pretty consistent. Like his lowest score of the year so far was week 1 with 9.1 in a PPR league, and he's scored as high as 23.7, but at least double-digit points every week except for week 1. So
Let's go, baby.
Rob, who do you have?
I went with Kenneth Walker for the Seahawks. 7 touchdowns since taking over as the starter once Rashad Penny went down, and he just looks like a beast out there.
Yeah, that's mine as well. So I think his impact over the last 4 or 5 weeks has just been. I think he's on 20 plus points a game fantasy and a couple touchdowns a game. So for the consistency, Chris Olave, for the last 5 or 6 weeks of the immediate impact and bigger splash is Kenneth Walker. So we'll see what happens the second half of the year. I think it's definitely a close race right now between those two. And
Walker had
just
like a 70-yard touchdown too, didn't he? The 1 week, or 75. He can have a couple more explosive plays like that. He's going to lock it up.
Yeah.
Because like Dameon Pierce has been good, but I don't think he's had the explosive plays like Walker. I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say Dameon Pierce was the third guy that comes to mind, but I don't think he's up there with those two.
it also doesn't help that he's playing for the Texans and
Yeah,
they're not winning games. So
Ryan, who's your coach of the year so far?
For me, it's got to be Nick Sirianni. And same exact reasons for Hurts. If he goes 16-2, 17-1, 18. Wait, I got that wrong. 17-0, 16-1, 15-2. If he does any of those,
how you doing up there, Ryan?
I'm great. How about you guys?
I also went with Nick Sirianni. It's tough to argue. Eagles are undefeated. They look great. They're blowing teams out. The other guy that came to mind was Brian Dable. Turning that Giants team around, but it's tough to pick against a guy who's coaching an undefeated season.
I went with Pete Carroll just because when we were picking games to start the year, we were all joking about how the Seahawks are going to have some of the worst, or one of the worst records in the league, and bet the under and all this stuff. And they are currently 6-3, leading the NFC West. So I agree. Obviously, being undefeated is very impressive. But I think we were even talking about before the season how we thought the Eagles were going to be pretty good. So just the fact that Pete Carroll's turned that entire team around in 1 year after trading away his franchise quarterback is impressive. So
yeah, based on what our expectations were, we picked Seattle to win one game, I think, in our season previews where we picked every single game. So they've already won five more than what we picked, and it's only week 10.
We have to agree, though, right? If Nick Sirianni takes the Eagles and goes 17-0, he's getting Coach of the Year. There's no debate.
100%.
Okay.
Unfortunately for him and Hurts, I think if they lose more than one game, they probably don't get the season awards like they should.
Yep, I don't think they'll get shut out because the expectations are so high now that they are undefeated, and just the talk of how easy their schedule is and has been, that there's no way unless they probably one game max that they can lose and expect to get an award.
When you have a schedule that weak, it almost feels like, and if you're a really good team, it feels like you have to go undefeated or lose one game. That's how bad their schedule is. It's unbelievable.
I agree. So those are our mid-season awards. We'll be excited to do this again here in a couple of weeks, and then we'll do it again at the end of the year. So it'll be fun. Last week we rolled out something new. We were doing our confidence level 10 bets. And, of course, because all we do is provide you guys with the right information and the right bets. I think we finally got our first one right of the year. Just in general. We won it. And for some reason, I don't have it in front of me. I have this week's bet, but I don't remember last week's bet. Did one of you guys remember last week's bet?
I picked the under for the Lions-Packers. That's like the only thing.
Rob picked minus...
I had Tampa -3, so it ended up pushing.
And Tony picked Seattle?
Yeah, Seattle to cover. And they were also the dog of the week, which I'll talk about later. But so
you picked Seattle money line for that.
You picked Seattle money line.
Yeah.
Even better.
You were so confident, right?
Yeah, I love it.
We nailed it.
So that was last week. This week, I have the Bills to cover at home. They are currently -3.5. I do not see the Bills losing at home. I do not see the Bills losing 2 games in a row. And I don't care. Obviously, I prefer if Allen plays. But I think this will hold true whether Allen plays or not. So that is my confidence level 10 pick of the week. Ryan, what's yours?
Man, I was drinking eggnog, and I think they put pepper in eggnog because I just bit a piece and it was so spicy. I don't think pepper is usually spicy, but I almost started choking there. Sorry. So my pick of the week is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Kansas City Chiefs to go under 50.5, which is their projection right now.
It's because you don't trust my Jags.
I don't trust your Jags, and I think that when the Kansas City Chiefs go up 40-0, something like that, they'll probably just put their backups in, and then it'll probably end 47-0.
The way you were wording that, Ryan, I thought you were about to change your pick and say you're taking Jacksonville to cover. I was like, wait, what?
I did.
Ryan,
I said that with like I was leading up to something, and then I just stopped, and I noticed, and I was like, I guess I'll just stay here and see what you guys say after that.
Dude. Why you got to be like that? You're always just hating on my Jags.
It's because the Jags are in the AFC South, and they are just, they're probably the second best team in the AFC South.
Yeah, so there's still time for the Titans to go on a losing streak. Jags upset the Chiefs this week. We'll see.
Titans almost did it. They almost pulled it off.
Hey, I'm feeling really good about my Jets pick, though, being good this year.
Should be. You should feel good. Speaking of,
not happy they beat the Bills, but
Robert Saleh should have gotten at least an honorable mention.
Yeah, I was thinking about him. I was also thinking of the Vikings coach. What's his name? O'Connell? Something.
Yeah. Kevin O'Connell.
Rob, what's your pick?
So going back to the Bills-Vikings game, I'm taking the under 43.5. I'm in agreement, obviously, since it's our confidence 10 parlay that the Bills will win that game and cover the 3.5. But I believe Josh Allen will sit with his elbow injury. They'll rest him up. It's an NFC opponent, so even if they were to lose, it doesn't hurt as bad as the loss to the Jets did last week. So they're going to give him some time to rest up. Got the Case Keenum revenge game against the Vikings. He's going to come in. The Lions going to be fired up to block for the backup, protect him, and I think they'll run the ball well. Quick game, low scoring, win by 4 to 7 points.
I sure hope so. That's the only way our bet's going to be right.
That's why I said 4.
The only other thing I have for football talk is, how does Jeff Saturday become an interim head coach?
When he got Jim Irsay as your owner, I guess, right?
That's just
the only answer.
There's a 30-year-old past game analyst calling plays. That's like you or I just walking out there and calling plays in the NFL right now.
He was the assistant to the head coach. He was like, if you watch The Office, Dwight Schrute was always like the assistant to the regional manager or whatever. This dude was the assistant to Frank Reich. He wasn't even like an assistant coach. He was an assistant to the coach. And now he's out there calling plays.
And Jeff Saturday's only ever coached at the high school level, right?
Yeah. I think I heard that he didn't even coach his high school team to a winning record.
Yeah. I think his last year coaching was a losing record.
That's not great.
That's not great.
This is going to be an interesting experiment there. Like, if you're the Colts, do you shut down Jonathan Taylor and any other, like Michael Pittman, all these guys? Probably not yet, because you still have 3 wins, but
right, not yet. But I think that they probably will once they are completely out of the playoff race. Just to go back real quick, if you parlay those 3 picks that we just threw out there, you'll end up with if you go on FanDuel right now, it might have changed by the time this comes out, but it's plus 575. So you can make a little bit of cash. I think that would be the equivalent of about multiplying it by 7, your winnings, or your bet.
Not bad, huh? All right, that's it for football talk for right now. We're going to switch over to Ryan's segment.
If you were to fall off the steepest part of the Grand Canyon, do you know how long you'd fall for?
I don't know. You'd have a lot of you time. Probably 15 seconds.
You ruined my joke. I was going to say the rest of your life was the answer. That was my terrible dad joke coming in. So that wasn't my did you know. I just had to throw that out there. And Tony, you jumped the gun and you completely just ruined the momentum I had with that. So
I was ready to answer the question.
No, that was good. I was not expecting that was like a rhetorical question. You weren't supposed to answer it, but I appreciate you jumping out there.
No problem.
So I'm gonna put a real damper on our podcast here. Did you know that according to the Bioethics Research Library, approximately 65 million people die each year in the world? That's 178,000 people per day, 7,425 people per hour, or 120 people die every minute.
Man, just the vibes here.
No, wait. And 140 million people are born each year, 385,000 per day. So it's almost, what is that, like double the amount of people being born as are dying, and that's expected to remain stable until about 2070, and then it's going to drop to about 130 million per year till 2100. I don't know why. I don't know where those statistics come from.
They've been talking about the rate going down because people were having less kids, but
yeah. Well, apparently
maybe it's not yet, but they expect it to in the future.
Yeah, I don't like these questions. These are questions. The did you knows that I do every week. they come from things that I just randomly Google throughout the week. Like if I have a question that pops into my head, like the brain freeze thing, I watched my daughter have a brain freeze, and I was like, I wonder why she has a brain freeze, and I Googled it. And for some reason, I was like, man, I wonder how many people die like every minute in the world. And I was like, oh, gotta Google that.
Ryan wasn't listening to Christmas music that morning.
No, I listen to Christmas music every morning, but it must have been like at night when I've gotten far away from Christmas music. I don't think it's depressing to think about people dying. Twice as many people are being born.
Yeah, it's a good way to think of it.
If you were me right now, how would you transition out of that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have no idea. That's why you're the host, though.
All right.
That's what you do.
Instead of thinking about that terrible situation, let's think about fantasy land, and let's get to fantasy time.
Oh, fantasy football.
All right. Same as the last few weeks. I'll do quarterbacks. I always forget who you guys do.
Running backs.
Rob will do running backs. Ryan will do wide receivers. And then I'm trying to remember who I had last week.
You didn't write this stuff down.
I've got it right here. I got too many screens open, bro. Last week, my start, which wasn't great, was Mac Jones. So don't listen to me at all. This week, I'm going to go with a start of Justin Fields. He's playing Detroit. Again, one of the worst defenses in the league. I think this is the fourth time in a row I've picked someone, whether it's my start or DFS, that is playing Detroit. Justin Fields already has more rushing attempts this year than he had all of last year. His last game was obviously a monster game. He had like 50 points. He had 4 touchdowns. The game before that, he had 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing. The game before that, he also had a rushing touchdown. So he's using his legs more. And if you're going to be an average producer in the air, then you need to be an elite runner. And right now he's an elite runner, and they're letting him do that. So my start of the week is Justin Fields, which I probably would never have said.
Yeah, he's getting it done on the ground, but
going into the year.
I think we were all pretty low on him moving into the year, so it is nice to see because he obviously had the talent, higher draft pick.
Yeah.
My running back start of the week last week was Cordero Patterson. I hope you listened to me. 2 touchdowns, first game back from injury. Bang. He had about 18 to 19 points, depending on your league settings. This week, I'm going with Jamal Williams of the Lions versus Chicago. So, again, I tried not to pick a super obvious start. He's playing the Bears, who allow the 4th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. DeAndre Swift still seems to be recovering like he's been every game ever, it seems like. Yeah. Always something. So he's dealing with ankle and shoulder injuries right now. I think he did have about 8 fantasy points last week. Swift did, but he only played like 16% of the snaps. So even if that goes up a little bit, I wouldn't imagine it's going to cut out Jamal Williams, who's been getting a ton of touches this year. He had 24 carries last week. Every week he's getting a ton of volume. I did see a fun stat that kind of made me want to make him my start of the week, especially since they were playing the Bears. He has 18 carries from inside the 10-yard line this year, which is second in the league behind only Joe Mixon. So the carries are there and the TD opportunities are also there.
Awesome. So my start last week was Curtis Samuel, and he came in with a 17-point game, 3 catches for 65 yards, a touchdown, and a 16-yard run. My start this week, we're going to keep the momentum going, is Donovan Peoples-Jones going against Miami, who is the 24th ranked defense against wide receivers this year. His last 5 games, he went 5 for 71, 4 for 50, 4 for 74, 6 for 71, 4 for 81. He's averaging about 6 targets per game in that span. He's finished as a wide receiver 3 in 5 of 8 games. of the 8 games that they played this year. And if you take out the anomaly of week 2, he had 0 points on 1 target, no catches, obviously. So he's been a wide receiver in 3 in 5 of 7 games. So he's actually been playing pretty well. If you're looking for a solid flex guy or wide receiver 3, then this week I'm going Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I know you're excited for Watson to come back to see what he can do with Peoples-Jones, right? Or what Peoples-Jones can do with Watson.
Yes, I am, because I do own Watson in fantasy. But so yeah, the way I do it, my start sits is I always try to pick someone who's ranked lower as a wide receiver. So Donovan Peoples-Jones is wide receiver 51 right now. So the guy that I have him starting over is ranked higher than that, and I'll get to that when it's my turn.
My sit of the week, sorry, I always jump ahead. Sit last week was Matthew Stafford, which was a good call. He only had 167 passing yards and a touchdown, so he got beat up by the Bucs defense, which the Bucs defense will do that to a lot of people. My sit this week is Kirk Cousins going up against the Buffalo Bills. I don't have a bunch of stats to back this one up other than the Bills defense is finally healthy. Trey White could be playing. Matt Milano's back. Jordan Poyer's back. They're at home in Buffalo, so that crowd will be going crazy. It's a hard place to play. Rob will be there screaming at Kirk Cousins to make sure that he performs poorly. So my sit is Kirk Cousins.
A couple picks.
Tripling down on the Bills, man.
I
got the under, the Bills taking the covering the spread, and sit Kirk Cousins.
It's a big week.
My goodness.
All right, on to running back. Last week, we could probably just skip over that because I gave you bad advice. But I said to sit the Baltimore running backs versus the Saints. I guess if you started anybody besides Drake, you would have regretted it. But Kenyon Drake had 25 fantasy points last week, so oops. Bad call on that one, but I think it was risky to play him just because it was Monday Night Football and we didn't know if Gus Edwards was going to play or not. So if you decided to take the gamble, it paid off for you, but I didn't. So my sit of this week is going to be Devin Singletary versus the Vikings. They allow the fifth fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs. There's a very good chance Allen misses the game, which I think will just make it harder for the offense to move and score a ton of points, which goes into the under that I said for my pick on the confidence parlay. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. We don't know how the new offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, is going to handle calling plays with Allen being out. So do we see more James Cook or maybe the new guy, Naheem Hines, this game? Could be possible just to see what they have with that guy, right? So yeah. I think it's better to sit Singletary and not risk it.
Boo, go Bills. Start all your Bills.
I mean, hopefully he does the same thing to me last week that Drake did. So 25 fantasy points would be nice.
Oh, yeah. It's okay. You gave up 20. So you at least did worse than I did. I said sit Tyler Lockett, and he scored 17.7. He went 5 for 61 and or 67 and a touchdown. So that wasn't great advice. He actually scored more than Curtis Samuel, who I said to start over Tyler Lockett by 0.6 points. So I got that one wrong last week.
Close.
But barely. This week, I'm saying you should be sitting Brandon Cooks, wide receiver 48 right now. So if you have Donovan Peoples-Jones and Brandon Cooks on the same team somehow, then I would start DPJ over him. He's actually only been better than a wide receiver 4 twice this year in Brandon Cooks. He's going against the Eagles, who are the 4th best team against wide receivers. And he doesn't even want to be on the team. Like, he wanted out of there. The whole offense is playing uninspiring football. I just don't want any piece of that.
Shoot. I would also want to be out of there.
Yeah.
My FanDuel last week wasn't great, but I don't even take the blame for it. You know, it was Aaron Rodgers. He threw for almost 300 yards and he had a touchdown, and he threw 3 interceptions inside the red zone.
Yeah.
So he had the chance to have a monster week. So, like, don't call me or hit me up on Twitter at Ultraflex Sutton, complaining about my pick of Aaron Rodgers because he's the one. He moved the ball and he should have had 3 touchdowns. This week, I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. And this isn't a slight against the Titans or really a high expectation of Russell Wilson. It's mostly just a value add. And that's a couple episodes ago, I said that's how I pick my quarterbacks more often than not. And he is the 14th least expensive quarterback on Sunday afternoon, which that doesn't include Thursday's primetime game or Sunday or Monday's primetime game. So there's only like 2 quarterbacks under him. So, and I think one of them is Case Keenum. So if you can get him at that price, which was like $6,600 on FanDuel, I'm just going to trust that eventually he's going to throw for a couple of touchdowns and kind of take a shot in the dark.
He might do it eventually, but it's not going to be against the Titans.
We'll find out.
We will see. My DFS play of the week last week was Austin Eckler. I said pay up for him. He scored 2 touchdowns for you. 26 points. I think it worked out pretty well. This week I'm going to go for more of a value play. I'm going to Miami, and I'm going to say Jeff Wilson Jr. He is 5,500 on DraftKings, 25th most expensive, and 6,500 on FanDuel for the 17th most. So a lot of guys above him. Dolphins at the trade deadline gave up a 5th round pick to get him. So they clearly had a plan. Not only that, they got rid of Chase Edmonds. So it kind of seems like he could be taking over the pass catching role there.
Yeah.
We saw last week in his first game on the team with really not a lot of time to get adjusted that they still trust him to get about half the workload. He split it about 50-50 with Raheem Mostert, but he outproduced him. Mike McDaniel is familiar with Jeff Wilson, obviously, from the time that he coached him in San Francisco. So I expect him to keep stealing more of the work, or at the very minimum, keeping it 50-50 and receiving the receiving role that will lead to more fantasy points. And on top of that, they match up against the Browns this week, who have the 28th ranked rush defense.
Nice. Oh, man. I apologize to our followers. I told people to have Tyler Boyd in their lineup last week, and that offense scored like 100 points. And all Tyler Boyd could muster was 5 catches for 44 yards. And that was disappointing. But this week, I'm taking a different approach. I get wide receivers and tight ends. So I'm going with my boy, Cole Kmet. FanDuel, tight end 11. DraftKings, tight end 11. He costs $5,300 in FanDuel, $3,400 in DraftKings. He's playing the worst overall defense in the Lions. They rank 28th against tight ends. They're giving up the most yards and points per game to opposing teams. Kmet has scored 3 touchdowns now. That's 3 more than all of last year in the past 2 games. They seem to be getting him more involved, and Fields seems to be figuring things out. Obviously, this is a tight end play, so it's just a shot in the dark. But Kmet, my boy, get him in. That was weird. Get him in your lineup.
My boy. All right, I like it. Ryan just can't stop laughing right now.
We're good.
Are you good? I don't think you're.
Are you sure you're good?
Pretty sure.
All right, we're going to Rob's segment. It's trivia time.
Pens and papers or Sharpies this week, maybe?
Got it.
All right. So since we kind of talked about vegetables in our rank 3 a little bit, I thought, why don't I do the first trivia question about some vegetables? So, what was the first vegetable to be grown in space?
Green pepper.
Ooh, that's a good one. That was a good
Solid
guess.
guess.
I'm gonna go with an onion.
Okay, so neither of you are right. Neither of them were an option. So I'll give you
Oh.
4 choices here. A, carrot. B, lettuce. C, mushroom. Or D, potato. So carrot, lettuce, mushroom, potato.
Got it.
Answers.
B.
So Ryan says lettuce.
C.
Anthony says mushroom. See, I would have guessed mushroom, but the answer is D, potato.
Oh, gosh.
So it happened in October of 1995. NASA and the University of Wisconsin-Madison collaborated to grow the first vegetable in space when astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia tested seed potato production in its astroculture plant growth facility.
Wow.
I just figured they got like some fungi in there. And
I was gonna say, man,
I
if
was
the
thinking
answer,
it grows in a dark place, it's probably going to be a mushroom, but no.
dude, if the answer was mushroom, I was gonna have to push back a little bit because mushrooms aren't vegetables.
Okay.
So I was just
Everybody considers them a vegetable.
I consider them a fungi personally.
Yeah.
But
All right. We're not going to get into that. That's a did you know for Ryan coming up soon.
did you know that
We
mushrooms
can
aren't
talk
vegetables?
about some mushrooms. You can go in deep. Going deep on it. Is it still Anthony up 2 on
2.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Yep.
You got to make up some ground here. Question 2. What is the best-selling car of all time? So, car, vehicle, truck, any of those. Something you drive on the road.
Oh.
F-150.
That's
Hey, is that the same truck you had, Ryan?
No, I had a Dodge something.
Oh, you
Dodge
did have a Dodge. That's right.
Ram. No, I'm gonna go the most basic car, a Ford Focus.
All right. Here's your choices. A, the Ford F Series, which would be...
That's Anthony's, yep.
That's Anthony's. B, the Ford Model T. C, the Toyota Corolla. Or D, the Volkswagen Beetle.
Well, Tony has to go A. Like, right?
All right, bro.
Yeah, he has to. I
I
mean,
was
you
gonna say,
can't
that
do
was
it.
your choice. You can't not pick A. And if I don't pick A and it's right, then I go down 3. Oh man.
But do you think that the Ford F Series would be the number 1 selling of all time?
Wait, in the United States?
This is worldwide.
Oh, okay. I feel better about my answer then.
All right. Answers?
C.
So Ryan says the Toyota Corolla. Anthony obviously stuck with A, the Ford F Series. One of you is right. Ryan, the Toyota Corolla.
Let's go.
Since it debuted in 1966, more than 50 million Toyota Corollas have been sold worldwide. The Ford F Series was second at over 40 million, though.
That's impressive.
I was wondering if one of you guys might overthink it and go with the Model T. 16.5 million, actually. But fun fact, in 1914, 9 out of every 10 cars on the road were a Ford Model T.
Wow.
Wow.
Wasn't much production going on there, huh?
And the Volkswagen Beetle, 22 million, was the first vehicle to achieve 20 million sold.
Wow. Awesome.
I figured,
Ryan gains 1.
Closing the gap.
American company. I wanted to go with something that was more like Toyota was what, like, I don't know, Japanese or something.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I tried to like Volkswagen and Toyota. I tried to get 2 foreign and obviously the 2 Fords. So
awesome. Let's go, baby. I made it closer.
All right. Down 1. You're closing the gap. Let's go to pick some games. Last week was a rough week for us. I led the way with only 6 right. Ryan had 5 right, and Rob had 4 right. So
just
definitely a
week.
rough week. Season, though, Rob still has a pretty commanding lead, 75 correct for the year. I have 64 correct, and Ryan has 61. So Ryan, you still get to pick the order.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it the same. I think I was gonna go me. Yeah, let's start me. Let's go Tony next, and then Rob. Actually,
All right. Let's fire away.
All right. We got a real fun Thursday night game. Rematch of like 2 weeks ago, right? With the DJ Moore overtime penalty game. Atlanta at Carolina, +2.5.
Carolina to me.
All right.
Also, Carolina to me as well.
I'm going to go Atlanta there. Seattle at Tampa Bay, -3.
Seattle.
I will go Tampa Bay.
Buccaneers. Minnesota at Buffalo, -3.5.
Minnesota.
Give me the Bills.
Yeah, I'll take the Bills.
Wait, my bad, guys.
Right, yeah, Ryan, you're going against our confidence.
No. That's my bad. I meant the Bills.
I mean, you can if you're trying to get one up here.
No. Give me the Bills.
Yeah. Those are two different bets. I mean, yeah, whatever.
Give me the Bills.
All right.
All right, moving on. Jacksonville at Kansas City, -9.5.
Kansas City.
Jacksonville, baby.
No.
Let's go.
Dang. I thought this line seemed low. I'm taking Kansas City.
Yeah.
Cleveland at Miami, -3.5.
Miami.
The Dolphins. Houston at the New York Giants, -4.5.
Giants.
New York. Denver at Tennessee, -2.
Tennessee.
I know we're not supposed to talk too much about this, but is Tannehill playing or not? Like, do we know?
I believe he is projected to play, yes.
I was picking Tennessee either way, but I was just curious. The line almost seems like they don't think he's going to play. Only being a 2-point home favorite over the Broncos. That's why
I just think that the media nationally, the Titans get no respect.
That is also a true statement. Okay, so we're all on Tennessee. Detroit at Chicago, -3.
Detroit.
I'll ride with Justin Fields, Chicago.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Let's go Chicago. New Orleans at Pittsburgh, +1.5.
New Orleans.
I'll say Pittsburgh. I don't know. That's a weird game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Pittsburgh. Indy at the Raiders, -6.
Those are bad teams.
Yeah.
We'll go Raiders.
Don't sound
Yeah, I'm going to go Raiders.
I'm on the Raiders too. Train wreck potential for the Colts here.
Yeah.
Dallas at Green Bay, +5.
Green Bay.
I think we're all in alignment there. Packers. Arizona at the Rams, -1.5.
Oh man, two bad teams again. Let's go Rams.
Rams for me as well.
Take the Cardinals. Chargers at the 49ers, -7.
49ers.
I'll take the Chargers.
And Monday Night Football, Washington at Philly, -10.5.
Washington.
Philly.
I'll take Washington.
All right. There it is. The dog of the week. Last week it won. We had Seattle to cover and I guess money line in the other bet, and they pulled it off. Again, the bet itself does not matter. The only thing that matters is posting cute pictures of dogs on Twitter. So send us your dogs. I believe it was Loki last week, and he brought us a win. So send them on over. And this week's dog of the week is the Packers, which we just all picked to cover +5 at home. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is having somewhat of a bad / mediocre year, however you want to phrase it. But he's still Aaron Rodgers. He's still very good at home. So we will take the Packers to cover the +5. Ryan, listener question of the week.
Listener question of the week. Listener question of the week. I'm going to hit this one. You guys had no idea this was coming. Do you wash your feet in the shower?
Yes.
I do.
Like you scrub them?
Yeah, so I did not growing up, like
Me
throughout
either.
school. And then it was like, I'm not even sure through college if I did. It might have been sometime in college. Like it just clicked to me. I was like, I don't wash the bottoms of my feet. Like it's kind of gross. So I started doing it because I always had the mindset of like, well, you're kind of standing in the soap anyway. But I've since started scrubbing my feet.
Go ahead.
My answer is the exact same. And really, since I guess after college, I've worn dress socks every single day. And now my feet stank after 10 hours of wearing dress socks. So now it's I'm trying to think, order shampoo in my hair, and then I scrub my feet. Second thing.
Wow. So that's like moved way up your priority list, huh?
It's my biggest stank.
Okay. So my wife, I come home today and she's like, my feet really stink. And I'm like, yeah, I've noticed that they kind of stink like on the rag. She's like,
She's going to love listening to this one.
No. They don't stink that bad. But I figured just because she's a small town girl, she said she doesn't wash her feet. I said, wait a minute. Like, so what, when you're in the shower and you're like scrubbing your legs and doing whatever, you just stop at your ankles? You don't just the extra foot, literally the extra foot. You don't just keep scrubbing, because I've always scrubbed my feet. I've always washed my feet thoroughly. Man, feet are so gross. They're always in socks and touching, like, just, I don't know. It's just gross. I've always scrubbed my feet. And I think starting today, after my wife listens to this, she'll be starting to scrub her.
And you
she told me
also
not. She told me not to throw her into the podcast and not bring her name up. So I never brought her name up. I just said my wife.
you will also be in the doghouse.
I will be in the doghouse, but that's all right. So listener question of the week number 2. This one is very deep. Do you believe in aliens? So deep in space.
There's got to be something out there, right? Yeah, I'll say yes. I don't know what they are or how advanced or whatever, but yeah, I think there's something out there.
I don't believe in aliens. I feel like at this point with our technology, if there were out there, maybe there is something way out there.
Yeah, it might just be too far.
I don't believe they visit or there's UFOs, because our technology is good enough now. If there was, we would have more proof.
I was gonna say, bro, like we've explored almost like 0.0% of space. So when you said like our technology, but with our technology, we should have been able to come into, like, there's no way we can't even get out of our own galaxy. Like we can't get out of our own solar system.
Yeah,
and there's
so I guess the question to me is different. Do I believe there's something way, 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 way out there? Sure. Do I believe that aliens are visiting Earth? No.
But their technology could be so far ahead of ours that they could come see us and not have us know that they visited.
They could be walking among us.
Oh man.
And
I think I'm more afraid of robots taking over than
really
an alien. You see some of these robots, they're like doing jumping jacks and crap now.
Yeah, but they have to be programmed to do a certain, like, if you're talking a sentient being, an alien, and I think they might be walking among us. I don't know. Maybe I'm one, but maybe you're one. I don't know if I can trust either of you now. But
Alrighty.
So if there was life on Mars at one point, are they technically aliens?
yes, I think anything
Haven't
that
they already proven there was at one point?
I'm not sure, but I think that it's just a foregone conclusion that eventually somewhere in space there has to be
Yeah, there has to be.
life.
I think that's the right answer.
E-
They're
Even
probably not what you see in movies, but yeah, there's something out there.
like the argument against it is like, well, the Earth has the Goldilocks principle or whatever they call that, where it's like just right. It's just the perfect distance from the sun, and it grew up in like this atmosphere
Is it
where
Actually
what?
called the Goldilocks.
Yeah, so I
principle?
never heard of that.
Yes,
That's pretty.
it is. It's literally called the Goldilocks
It's
principle.
just
But
right.
yeah, it's just right. And
Yeah.
but they've said like if you take the chance of this happening, there's still like 80 billion planets out there that should be just like the Earth is, which is just incomprehensible. So
Yeah,
there's just
space
no
is so big you
possible
can't
way.
even think about it. How big
Right.
it is.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Something for all of our listeners to think about as they stop listening to our podcast, because this is going to wrap it up for this week. Thanks for listening to us do the midseason awards. Again, follow us on Twitter. I am at Ultraflex Sutton. Ryan is Ultraflex Ryan, Ultraflex Rob, and then Ultraflex FP. Find us anywhere you find your podcasts. Send us your dogs of the week. Send us listener questions. That way we can get more interactive with you guys. We appreciate all of the interaction on Twitter. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Rob, have fun at the Bills game. And
Thank you.
Go Bills.
Go Bills and Josh Allen, get well.
Go Bills.